The colony at the edge of the galaxy was a quiet place. Forgotten by most, ships rarely came, trade was slow, and people lived their lives in small dusty streets. On those streets there was an old alien lady who everyone ignored. Her clothes were torn, her back was bent, and her hands shook when she tried to carry even the smallest things. Children laughed at her, calling her names. Adults passed her by, whispering that she was crazy or useless. To most of the colony she was nothing, just another beggar no one wanted to see. But Ethan, a 16-year-old human boy, noticed her more than once. He worked small jobs for traders and mechanics, always running errands to help his widowed mother. He had seen the old lady sitting by the market gates, her thin arms holding heavy sacks of grain that no one offered to carry. Her skin had strange pale lines across it, marks that seemed to shine faintly under the evening light. Most people pretended not to notice, but Ethan felt a strange pull when he saw her. One evening the wind grew colder. The market was closing, lanterns dimming. People hurried home before the night frost. The old alien lady struggled to lift a basket of dried roots. She bent down, but her legs shook, and the basket tipped over, spilling everything into the dirt. The crowd passed, uncaring. Someone even muttered, "Why doesn't she just die already?" Ethan froze at those words. Something in him twisted. He walked over and bent down to help. "Let me," he said softly, picking up the roots one by one. The old lady's eyes met his. For a moment, Ethan could not move. Her eyes were not like other aliens he knew. They were deep, glowing with faint silver light. As if they had seen countless stars, she blinked slowly, almost as if surprised that anyone would help her. "You should not," she whispered. Her voice cracked and weak. "If they see you with me, they will laugh at you too." Ethan shook his head. "I don't care," he answered. "You shouldn't be carrying all this alone." He lifted the basket with ease and handed it to her. She stared at him as though she had forgotten how kindness felt. Then her lips trembled and she nodded. Together, they walked toward the edge of the colony where her small hut stood. The hut was old and broken, its roof patched with scrap metal. It looked like no one should be living inside. "You live here?" Ethan asked, shocked. The old woman gave a faint smile. "Where else would I go?" She whispered, "They want me gone, but I have nowhere else to be." Ethan placed the basket near the door. He hesitated, feeling he should say something. But before he could, the woman leaned closer. Her voice was low, almost fearful. "You are kind, boy," she whispered. "But kindness will bring danger. Do not come back here. Do not get close to me." Her words sent a chill through Ethan. He wanted to ask why, but she turned quickly and went inside, closing the door with a creak. That night, Ethan could not sleep. The image of her glowing silver eyes haunted him. Why did they shine like that? Why did she speak as if she was hiding from something? He had seen poor people before, but this was different. This woman carried a secret, one so heavy that it bent her back more than age ever could. The next morning, Ethan walked the streets again. Traders called to him, asking him to run messages or carry boxes. But his eyes kept drifting to the end of the road where the old woman lived. He told himself he should forget her, but his heart pulled him back as the sun set that evening. Ethan found himself once again at her hut. The door was shut, the windows dark. He was about to leave when he heard a faint sound, a cough, weak and painful. He pushed the door open inside. The hut smelled of dust and damp wood. The woman sat by a dim fire, her hands pressed against her chest. Her skin glowed faintly, the pale lines across her arms shining brighter than before. Ethan gasped. The woman's eyes snapped to him, glowing silver in the firelight. "I told you not to come," she whispered, but her voice shook. "You must not see this." Ethan took a step forward, his heart racing. "What are you?" he asked softly. For a long time she did not answer. Only the crackle of fire filled the silence. Then she leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "I am not what they think," she said. "I am not what you think either." Her words trembled in the air. Full of mystery and danger, Ethan stared at her, feeling as if the ground under his feet had shifted. She was not just an old alien lady, she was something more. Something the galaxy had forgotten but not erased. And Ethan, the boy who chose to help, had just stepped into a truth that could change everything. The next day, Ethan tried to stay busy. He carried tools for the mechanic, fetched water for the baker, and delivered small packages across the colony. But no matter what he did, his mind returned to the old woman's glowing eyes. He had never seen anything like them. They weren't just strange, they felt alive. as if they carried secrets too heavy for her to hold. By evening, he couldn't resist. His steps led him again to the broken hut at the edge of the colony. This time he knocked gently. There was silence for a moment. He thought she wouldn't answer. Then the door creaked open and she stood there, her shoulders hunched, her eyes tired but sharp. "You came back," she whispered. "I told you not to." "I know," Ethan admitted. "But I had to." He hesitated, then added, "I want to help you." The old woman stared at him for a long time, her silver eyes searching his face. Finally, she stepped aside. "Then come in," she said softly. Inside, the hut was darker than before. The fire had burned down to faint coals, and shadows stretched across the walls. Ethan noticed something he had missed yesterday. Her arms, bare beneath the torn sleeves, were covered in strange markings. They weren't scars. They looked like glowing lines carved deep into her skin, patterns that seemed to shift faintly as she moved. "What are those?" Ethan asked, unable to stop himself. The old woman pulled her arms close to her chest, her face tightening. "They are reminders," she said, "of who I was, of what I lost." Ethan stepped closer. "They look alive," he whispered. "Like they're part of you." She sighed, lowering herself to sit by the dim fire. "They are not just part of me," she murmured. "They are me." Her words confused him, but before he could ask more, she looked up, her eyes glowing faintly again. "Do you know why they hate me here?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "Because they don't understand you?" A faint broken laugh escaped her. "Because they fear me," she whispered. "They think I am cursed or dangerous. They tell their children not to look at me, not to touch me, but fear comes from truth, boy. And truth cannot be buried forever." Ethan leaned forward. "Then what's the truth?" The woman hesitated, her thin fingers tracing the glowing lines on her arm. "Long ago I was someone else," she whispered. "Someone who walked in halls of power. Someone who commanded fleets. But power fades, allies betray, and when you fall far." She looked into the fire. "I fell into dust, into shadows, and now I am only this. An old woman forgotten." Ethan listened with wide eyes. He wanted to believe her, but she looked so frail, so broken. How could she ever have been powerful? Then something strange happened. She reached out and touched Ethan's wrist for a heartbeat. The glowing lines across her skin flared brighter. A surge of warmth ran through him. Images flashed in his mind, fleets of ships, worlds burning. A throne room filled with alien light, and her, standing tall, younger. Her eyes burning silver as she raised her hands and commanded storms of energy. Ethan gasped and pulled back, his heart pounded. His breath came fast. "What was that?" he whispered. The old woman's eyes glistened. "A memory," she said softly. "One I can no longer carry alone." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. You're not just an old woman." She leaned closer, her voice sharp with sudden fear. "Quiet," she hissed. "Do not speak it. Do not even think it too loudly. They are watching. They are always watching." Ethan's skin prickled. He turned to the window and saw movement in the dark. A shadow gone as quickly as it appeared. His stomach tightened. "Who's watching?" he asked. The woman's face grew pale. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Hunters, those who want me dead. Those who want my secret buried forever." The fire crackled, filling the silence. Ethan felt the weight of her words pressing on him. He had thought she was just a lonely old lady, but now he realized she was hiding from enemies powerful enough to reach even this forgotten colony. "You should stay away," she said again. "If they know you have seen the markings, they will kill you too." But Ethan shook his head. "I don't care," he said firmly. "I'm not going to leave you alone." For the first time, the old woman's eyes softened. She looked at him not with suspicion but with something else. Hope. "You are young and foolish," she whispered. "But perhaps that is what I need." The wind outside howled. Shadows shifted against the walls. Ethan felt the air grow colder. He knew the night was not safe. He knew he should go. But something inside him told him that leaving her now would be the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't know why, but he felt it. Whatever secret she carried was not just hers. It was something larger, something that could shake the galaxy itself, and somehow he was now part of it. The colony at night was not safe. The streets were empty, the doors locked, and the lamps burned low. Ethan walked home with quick steps, but his mind was not calm. He kept thinking of the glowing markings, the strange visions, and the old woman's warning. Shadows seemed to move at the edge of his sight, and every sound made him glance over his shoulder. When he reached his small house, his mother was asleep. He lay on his bed but could not rest. The words echoed in his head. They are watching. He remembered the shape he had seen outside her hut. Something moving in the darkness that vanished when he looked. Who were they? And why were they hunting her? The next day the market was buzzing. Merchants argued, children played, and workers loaded crates, yet Ethan noticed something unusual. 3 strangers had arrived. Tall and cloaked, their faces hidden. They did not buy anything. They only watched. Their eyes scanned the streets, pausing often near the old woman's hut. Ethan's chest tightened. He knew at once they were not traders. He kept his distance but followed them quietly. They moved like hunters, slow, careful, waiting for the right moment. That evening, Ethan returned to the old woman's hut. He knocked, but she did not answer. He pushed the door open and found her sitting near the fire. Staring into the flames, her face looked tired, her hands shaking as they traced the glowing lines on her arms. "They are here, aren't they?" Ethan asked, his voice low. The old woman turned her silver eyes to him, and for a moment he saw fear inside them, not just sadness. "Yes," she whispered. "I felt their presence before you even saw them. They will not stop. They have chased me across worlds, and they will not rest until I am gone." Ethan swallowed. "Why are they after you?" Her eyes glowed brighter in the firelight. "Because I lived when I was meant to die," she said. "Because I carry knowledge they cannot allow to exist." Before Ethan could ask more, a sound echoed outside. A crunch of boots on gravel, slow and heavy. The old woman stiffened. Her hand reached for the staff leaning against the wall. It was simple wood, yet when she held it, the markings on her skin flared faintly. "They have found me," she whispered. Ethan's heart pounded. He moved to the window and peeked outside in the distance. He saw 2 of the cloaked figures moving through the shadows, their heads turning as if sniffing the air. The third stood farther back, watching the hut like a predator waiting for its prey. "What do we do?" Ethan asked, panic rising. "You leave," the woman said firmly. "Now go back to your mother. Forget you ever saw me." Ethan shook his head. "I can't," he whispered. "They'll kill you." Her eyes softened with sorrow. "They will kill you too if you stay." A sudden knock shook the door. A low voice came through the wood. "Open, old one." "The hunt is over." The fire crackled loudly. Ethan froze. The old woman's breathing grew shallow. For a moment he thought she would give up. But then she lifted her head, her eyes flashing silver. "They think I am weak," she whispered. "They think I am broken. They have forgotten who I was." The knock came again, harder this time. The door rattled. Ethan backed away, his heart racing. The old woman stood, her bent body suddenly straightening. For a brief moment Ethan saw not a frail beggar, but a figure of power hidden beneath years of pain. The door burst open. 2 cloaked figures stepped inside, their faces hidden under metal masks. Each held a weapon glowing faintly with alien energy. Behind them, the third figure waited outside, silent and still. The old woman raised her staff. The markings on her arms burned like fire. Ethan shielded his eyes from the glow. "You should not have come," she said, her voice stronger. "Not here? Not now." One of the masked hunters laughed coldly. "You are nothing but dust, old Empress. We will finish what was started long ago." Ethan's eyes widened. "Empress?" The word rang in his head like thunder. The old woman's silver eyes locked on the hunters. "You will try," she said, "but I am not alone anymore." Her gaze flicked to Ethan, and though he felt fear, he also felt something else. Courage. The hunters stepped forward, their weapons crackling. The old woman lifted her staff. The hut filled with a sudden pulse of light. Shadows leapt across the walls, and the hunters hesitated, surprised by her strength. Ethan's heart pounded as the air grew heavy. He realized in that moment that the colony was no longer safe. The shadows were not just watching, they were ready to strike. And the truth about the old woman was about to break into the open. The galaxy had forgotten her name, but her enemies had not. And now, because he chose to help her, Ethan stood in the middle of a storm that would soon reach far beyond their little colony. The hut shook as the hunters stepped inside. Their weapons glowed, humming with strange energy. Ethan's chest tightened. He had never seen weapons like these, sharp and alive as if they carried lightning inside them. The old woman did not move back. She stood tall, her staff glowing with the same light as the markings on her arms. "Leave now," she said, her voice calm but firm. "This world is not yours." One of the hunters laughed behind his mask. "You are a ghost of what you once were," he said. "We will end you tonight." Ethan pressed himself against the wall. His mind screamed at him to run. but his legs would not move, he could only watch. The hunters raised their weapons. Beams of blue energy shot forward. The air cracked. Ethan cried out, expecting to see her fall, but the old woman lifted her staff. The markings across her skin blazed. The air around her shimmered. The beams struck something invisible and scattered into sparks. For a moment, the hut filled with light brighter than the fire. Ethan's eyes widened. She had blocked them. Not with armor, not with machines, but with her own power. "You have forgotten," she said, her silver eyes burning. "I am not just an old woman." She slammed her staff against the ground. A wave of energy burst outward. The hunters staggered back, their weapons flickering. Dust shook loose from the roof. Ethan covered his face. The power in the room made the air heavy, pressing against his chest. The third hunter outside stepped forward, his cloak slipping to reveal armor black as stone. His mask gleamed. He raised both hands, pulling energy into a sphere of light that burned white. With a sharp cry, he hurled it through the doorway. Ethan gasped, but before it could strike, the old woman raised her hand. The markings on her arm flared brighter. The sphere froze in midair, humming violently. With a flick of her wrist, she sent it spinning back out into the night. A deafening explosion shook the ground. The windows shattered. Fire lit the sky outside. The hunters inside hesitated. They glanced at each other, their confidence fading. "This is impossible," one whispered. "She should not still have this strength." The old woman's voice was low, almost a growl. "You do not understand what strength is." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at her differently now. The hunched figure he had once seen at the market was gone. In her place stood someone terrifying and beautiful, glowing with a light that seemed older than the stars. She was no beggar, no forgotten outcast. She was something far greater. The hunters roared and charged again. Their weapons slashed through the air, sparks flying. The old woman spun her staff with surprising speed, deflecting each strike every time their weapons struck. The markings on her skin pulsed, feeding her with power. The hut could barely hold the battle. Walls cracked, wood splintered. Ethan ducked under falling beams. At last, she swung her staff down hard. A shockwave blasted through the room. The two hunters inside flew backward. Crashing against the walls, their weapons shattered. Pieces sparking on the floor, they did not rise. The third hunter outside stepped into the doorway. His mask tilted as if he were smiling behind it. "So the stories are true," he said, his voice cold. "The Empress still lives." The old woman's eyes narrowed. "You speak too loudly," she said. "You know what happens when the truth escapes." The hunter raised his arm, his weapon glowing brighter than before. "The galaxy will know you are nothing but a broken relic," he said. "And the boy," he pointed at Ethan, "will die with you." Ethan froze, his body trembling. His breath came fast for the first time. Fear turned into anger. He stepped forward. "You'll have to go through me first," he shouted. Though his voice cracked, the hunter tilted his head as if amused, but the old woman raised her hand before he could strike. "No," she said firmly. "You will not touch him." Then for the first time, she let go of the restraint she had been holding. The markings across her whole body ignited. The staff in her hand glowed like a star. A roaring wind filled the hut, blowing ashes into the air. Ethan held onto the wall as his hair whipped wildly. The hunter outside staggered back, shielding himself. "This power, impossible," he shouted. The old woman stepped forward, each word sharp as steel. "You call me broken," she said. "You call me forgotten. But remember this, I was empress once. I commanded worlds, I burned fleets. I bent armies to my will, and if you force me, I will do it again." With a sudden thrust of her staff, a beam of silver light shot forward. It struck the hunter's weapon, tearing it apart in a shower of sparks. The hunter screamed, his mask cracking. He staggered back into the night, smoke rising from his armor. Then he fled into the shadows, disappearing into the dark hills beyond the colony. Silence filled the hut. Ethan's ears rang. His chest rose and fell quickly. The two hunters inside lay unconscious, their masks shattered. The old woman stood in the center of the wreckage, her staff glowing. Faintly as the markings slowly dimmed, her body shook, her breath heavy. She looked older again, the power draining from her. Ethan stared at her in shock. "You," he began, but his words failed. The old woman lowered her staff and sank into the chair by the fire. Her eyes still glowed faintly. "Now you see," she whispered. "Now you know why they fear me." Ethan swallowed hard. You're not just anyone, he said softly. You're... She stopped him with a raised hand. Do not say it, she whispered. Names are dangerous, the walls have ears. And the shadows listen. Ethan sat near the broken wall. His heart still racing, the truth had begun to reveal itself. The old woman was more than a beggar, more than an outcast. She was something the galaxy thought gone, and her enemies were not finished yet. And now Ethan was caught in the middle of it all. The colony did not sleep that night. The explosion, the lights, and the strange sounds had shaken everyone. People whispered in the streets, asking what had happened at the edge of town. Some said smugglers had attacked. Others claimed it was just a storm. No one dared speak the truth aloud, but fear hung heavy in the air. Inside the broken hut, Ethan sat near the fire. His ears still rang from the battle. The two hunters lay bound with ropes. Their masks shattered. The old woman's glow had faded. She sat slumped in her chair, her staff leaning beside her. Her breathing was slow, her hands trembling. The power she had unleashed had cost her strength. Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. You fought them like you were young again, he whispered. The old woman gave a faint smile. Power does not fade, she murmured. It only sleeps, but now they will not stop. They will come again, and this time they will bring more. Ethan's chest tightened. Then we have to leave, he said. If they know where you are, the whole colony is in danger. She closed her eyes for a long moment, then nodded. Yes, she whispered, the chase has begun. At dawn, they prepared. Ethan gathered food from his home, telling his mother only that he had work outside the colony. He hated lying, but he could not tell her the truth. She would never believe it, or worse. She would be in danger if she knew when he returned. The old woman had covered her markings with cloth and tied her hood tightly. Yet even hidden, she seemed different now. Not just a frail figure, but someone carrying a storm within her. They slipped out of the colony quietly. Ethan pushed a small cart filled with supplies while the old woman leaned on her staff. The early morning sky was gray, the air biting cold. Every sound felt louder than it should. Every shadow felt like eyes watching. Where are we going? Ethan asked. There are places the hunters fear to tread, she whispered. Old places forgotten like me if we reach them. I can gather my strength, Ethan nodded, though worry still gripped him as they walked through the rocky hills. He kept glancing behind, expecting cloaked figures to appear. By midday his fear was proven right. A distant hum filled the air. Ethan looked up and saw shapes in the sky, dark ships gliding low. Their wings spread like shadows. They circled slowly, scanning the ground. They've brought ships, Ethan whispered. Panic rising, the old woman gripped her staff, her face pale but steady. They will not let me escape again, she said softly. But we will not make it easy for them. They hurried through the hills. Weaving between jagged rocks, the hum of engines grew louder. Dust blew around them as the ships closed in. Ethan's legs burned from running, but he refused to stop. Then the ground shook. The ships opened fire, beams of light tearing into the rocks around them. Stone exploded, dust and smoke filling the air. Ethan stumbled, but the old woman caught his arm, pulling him forward with surprising strength. Down there, she pointed. Ahead, a narrow canyon opened between two cliffs. They rushed inside, the walls rising high above them. The ships followed, beams crashing into the cliffs, sending stones tumbling. The chase was relentless. Every corner they turned, the ships were above. Every shadow seemed to hold danger. Ethan's heart raced as he dragged the cart. We can't outrun them, he shouted. The old woman stopped suddenly. Her silver eyes glowed faintly. Then we do not run, she whispered. She raised her staff, the markings on her arms burning through the cloth. The canyon filled with light as she slammed the staff into the ground. The rocks trembled, a wave of energy surged upward. Striking the cliffs, the stone cracked and broke. Huge boulders fell, crashing down into the canyon, blocking the ship's path. The ground shook violently. Dust filled the air. The ship screeched above. Forced to pull back for a moment, silence returned. Ethan stared at her, breathless. You can move the earth? The old woman leaned on her staff, her face pale. I can move much more than that, she said softly. But every strike weakens me. I cannot fight like I once did. Not for long, Ethan clenched his fists. Then we have to be smarter than them, he said. We'll find a way to hide, to stay ahead. But even as he spoke, a sharp cry echoed behind them. Ethan turned and saw shadows moving in the dust. Hunters on foot now. leaping from the cliffs with blades in hand, their masks glinting in the faint light. "They've found us," Ethan cried. The old woman lifted her staff again, but her arms shook. Her strength was fading. Ethan stepped in front of her, his hands trembling but his body firm. "You won't take her," he shouted, his voice breaking. The hunters laughed, closing in. One of them raised his blade, ready to strike. Then, just as they lunged, the old woman whispered something in a language Ethan did not understand. The markings on her arms flared once more. A shockwave burst outward, hurling the hunters backward into the rocks. Silence followed, broken only by Ethan's rapid breathing. He turned to her. "You saved us again," she shook her head. "No," she whispered. "The chase has only just begun. They will not stop, they will never stop until the truth I carry is buried forever, or revealed to the galaxy once more." Ethan felt the weight of her words. He knew now there was no turning back. They were no longer running from danger. They were running into it. Step by step, the galaxy's hidden storm was unfolding around them. And he, a simple human teen, was caught at its center. The canyon grew silent again after the shockwave. Dust drifted through the air, broken rocks lay scattered, and the hunters did not rise. Ethan stood with his chest heaving, his hands shaking. He had never been this close to death, but the old woman beside him had saved them again. Her staff glowed faintly, the markings on her arms pulsing slower now. Her body trembled as she leaned against the rock wall. Ethan rushed to her side. "You're weak," he said. "We need to rest." She shook her head, her silver eyes dim but sharp. "There is no rest now," she whispered. "They will call more. They will not give up until everything is finished." Ethan swallowed hard. "Finished? What do you mean?" The old woman's eyes turned toward the sky. Her voice softened, heavy with sorrow. "You have seen pieces already, boy, but you do not yet understand. You deserve to know the truth, though it may break you." Ethan's throat tightened. "Tell me," he said. "I want to know." She closed her eyes for a long moment, and when she opened them, they glowed brighter than before. "Long ago I was not a beggar, not a shadow. I was Empress of the Athelia Dominion. My voice commanded worlds. My fleets stretched across the stars. Planets trembled when I spoke, and enemies bent their knees or were burned to ash." Ethan froze. His heart raced. He wanted to deny it, but the images he had seen in his vision returned. Fleets burning, armies kneeling, her standing tall like fire itself. "But," she continued, her voice trembling, "power breeds enemies. Those closest to me plotted, my own council betrayed me. They wanted my throne, my secrets. The knowledge carved into my very skin. They struck in the dead of night. They burned my palace, they killed my guards. And her voice cracked. I was cast down, broken, left for dead." She raised her arms. The markings glowed. "These are not scars. They are the language of power, the source of the dominion. Carved into me by the ancients, they could not erase it. So they hunted me instead. For decades I wandered, from planet to planet, hiding, forgotten, while the galaxy believed I was gone." Ethan's breath caught. "But why hide? Why not show yourself?" Her eyes turned to him, shimmering with tears. "Because if I returned without strength, they would kill me again. And this time, there would be no one left to remember me to them. I was a ghost best left buried." The air grew colder. The canyon walls seemed to close around them. Ethan realized the weight of what she carried. The hunters weren't just chasing an old woman, they were chasing a living secret. A truth that could shatter the balance of the galaxy. "If the galaxy learns I live," she whispered, "it will not remain silent. Armies will rise again. Rivals will tremble, millions will die. My name alone is enough to turn empires into war." Ethan shook his head. "But you're not alone now," he said. "You have me, and I don't care if they're afraid. You shouldn't have to hide forever." Her lips trembled into the faintest smile. "You are bold, boy, braver than most men I knew in my halls." She touched his cheek lightly. "Perhaps this is why fate brought you to me." Before Ethan could speak, a rumble echoed through the canyon. They both turned, and in the distance, glowing lights pierced the sky. More ships were coming, bigger, faster, armed for destruction. "They will bring warships now," she whispered, her voice grim. "They will not underestimate me again." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then tell them who you are," he said fiercely. "Let them see. Let them fear you again." Her eyes burned silver as she looked at him. "You do not understand," she whispered. "If I reveal myself, the galaxy will not only fear me, It will divide, some will rally to me, others will rise against me. Every world will choose a side. And war will come once more. Ethan felt his chest tighten. His words caught in his throat. He knew she was right. Her secret was too big, too dangerous, but he also knew something else. Keeping it hidden forever would destroy her. The rumble grew louder. The ships descended closer, shadows cutting across the canyon walls. The old woman raised her staff again, but her hands shook. Her power was great, but her body was frail. Ethan stepped in front of her. "Then let me help," he said. "I may not have power like you, but I won't let them take you for a moment." Silence hung between them. Then slowly her silver eyes softened. "Perhaps the galaxy was right to fear me," she whispered. "But perhaps it is you they should fear more. A boy with no power who dares to stand against empires." The first of the warships roared above. Its engines thundered through the canyon. Soldiers poured down on cables. Armored and armed, the chase had ended. The battle for truth had begun. The old woman gripped her staff, her markings glowing once more. "Tonight," she said, her voice trembling with both sorrow and strength, "the galaxy will learn that I still live." Ethan looked up at the descending soldiers, his heart racing, his hands shook, but he stood firm. For the first time, he wasn't just a boy helping an old woman. He was standing beside an empress, ready to face whatever storm was coming. The truth was no longer hidden, it was alive, it was glowing, and it was about to shake the galaxy. The warships thundered above the canyon. Their shadows swallowed the rocks. Soldiers poured down on cables, their armor black, their weapons glowing. Ethan's heart pounded so hard he thought it would break his chest. He stood with his fists clenched, trembling but firm, beside him. The old woman, no longer just a beggar, no longer just forgotten, lifted her staff. The markings across her arms burned bright, lighting the canyon like silver fire. The soldiers landed with heavy thuds, forming a circle around them. Their leader stepped forward, tall and cruel, his mask shining with a red glow. "It ends tonight," he said, his voice cold as steel. "The Empress dies here, and the last memory of her dies with this boy." Ethan swallowed hard but did not step back. "You'll have to go through me first," he shouted, his voice shaking but loud enough to echo against the cliffs. The soldiers laughed, but the old woman's silver eyes narrowed. "He is not alone," she said. "He stands with me, and together, we are more than you can ever imagine." Then the canyon erupted in battle. Beams of energy flew through the air, striking stone, sending shards flying. The soldiers charged, but the old woman spun her staff, silver light bursting out in waves, knocking them back. Ethan ducked, rolled, and grabbed a fallen soldier's weapon. His hands shook, but he raised it, firing clumsily. The blast struck one soldier's armor, sending him crashing to the ground. For the first time, Ethan felt something ignite inside him. Fear was still there, but it was joined by courage. He was no longer running, no longer hiding, he was fighting. The leader of the soldiers roared, swinging a massive blade of energy. He rushed toward Ethan. The boy froze, but before the strike landed, the old woman blocked it with her staff. Sparks exploded. The canyon shook with the clash. "You will not touch him," she shouted, her voice like thunder. The markings on her skin flared brighter than ever before. Her staff burned like a star. With a powerful swing, she struck the leader back. His mask cracked, his blade shattered, he staggered and fell to his knees. The other soldiers faltered, fear in their eyes. None had expected this much strength from a woman they had called broken. For the first time in years, the Empress stood revealed, her power blazing for all to see. But the effort was too much. Her body shook violently, she gasped. Her staff trembling in her hands, Ethan rushed to her side, holding her up. "Don't stop," he begged. "We can win." Her silver eyes softened as she looked at him. "No, boy," she whispered. "This is not my fight anymore. It is yours." Ethan's chest tightened. "Mine? I'm no warrior." She touched his hand, pressing the staff into his grip. The markings across her arms flared, and suddenly light flowed into him, burning through his skin. Filling his chest with fire, he gasped, visions flashing before his eyes. Fleets, worlds, thrones, and stars, all bound to her power, now touching him. "You showed me kindness," she whispered, her voice weak but steady. "When all others gave me nothing but hate, you reminded me what I once was, and because of you, I have the strength to stand one last time. The galaxy may fear me, but it will remember you." Ethan shook his head, tears stinging his eyes. "I don't want them to remember me. I just want you safe. Her lips curved into a trembling smile. Because of that, boy, you will change everything. The soldiers began to regroup, their weapons rising again. But Ethan no longer felt powerless. The staff in his hands glowed, the silver light now burning inside him as well. He raised it and a wave of energy burst outward, knocking the soldiers to the ground. The canyon walls shook, the sky itself seemed to tremble. The leader stared in disbelief. Impossible, he hissed. The boy, he carries her fire. Ethan stood tall, his heart pounding for the first time. He felt it, her power flowing through him but not crushing him instead. It felt like an extension of his own courage. His own choice, leave, Ethan shouted, his voice echoing, or I'll finish this. The soldiers hesitated. Their leader snarled, but fear filled his eyes. He gave a sharp signal, and one by one they retreated, climbing back toward their ships. The engines roared, lifting them away into the sky. The canyon grew quiet again. Ethan turned back to the old woman. She was slumped against the rocks, her glow fading. He dropped to his knees beside her. Don't go, he whispered. Please don't leave me. Her hand rested on his cheek, her silver eyes dim but filled with warmth. Do not fear, she whispered. I am not gone. I live in the truth. I live in the fire I gave you. I live in the kindness you showed me when no one else would. That is the power they never understood. Tears rolled down Ethan's face. He held her hand tightly. You're not just an old alien lady, he said softly. You're everything, her eyes closed, her breath slowing. And you, she whispered, are the human who changed everything. The markings on her arms dimmed. The staff in Ethan's grip glowed once more. The light settled into him, and then faded into silence. The Empress was gone, but not lost, her power, her truth. And her memory now lived inside a boy who had once only wanted to help an old woman with her basket. When the colony heard what had happened, when whispers of the Empress's return spread, the galaxy trembled. But it was not just her name they whispered. It was his, the human boy who stood beside her, who carried her fire, who changed the course of stars. Ethan looked at the sky, his heart still heavy but burning with new strength. The chase was over, but his journey had only begun. The galaxy would never be the same again,